Hey everybody, it's Ken Davenport. Welcome back to the Producer's Perspective Live. I believe it is Tuesday, although I'm not exactly sure as the days continue to blend together. Last night I had a tie on. Tonight I have a hat on. I am wearing this hat in honor, I gotta figure out which way to turn here. In honor of the Boston Red Sox. Obviously we didn't have opening day for Major League Baseball this year. The Sox should have been last week. This is just, even though it's a golf hat, I just realized the irony of this. I'm just honoring Major League Baseball and all the national sports in this country and all over that are on pause right now. Baseball will be back up and running, we hope, very, very soon. So this is a tip of that hat to the Sox and to whatever favorite team of yours you have. Welcome back. We are here, very special guest. This is a composer, lyricist, and a theater maker that I've known for a very, very long time. His name is Mr. Andrew Lippa. He's behind the musicals Addams Family, Wild Party. God, I love that freaking Wild Party recording. If you don't have that Wild Party recording, this is something to stream right now. Mary, throw up a link into the live comments for the somewhere to stream Wild Party, the Lippa Wild Party. It's fantastic. And the cast is unbelievable. So that is a treat. I'm going to stream it later. Wild Party, Big Fish. Did I mention Big Fish? John and Jen. You know John and Jen? What a gem that musical is. Again, Tony nominated. I think he shares an Emmy Award. He's Mr. Andrew Lippa. He's going to be with us in just a few moments. Don't forget why we're here. We're here to flatten the effing curve. That's what I think our politicians should say now, is not just we're flattening the curve, flatten the curve. I think they should say it's time to flatten the fucking curve, everybody, so stay the heck inside. I may just change our hashtag from stay safe, stay healthy, stay home to flatten the curve. Flatten the beep beep curve. Something like that. Anyway, donate to the Actors Fund. Don't forget about the Actors Fund. Throw them a little tip in the tip jar on my Facebook page. Another great organization that Andrew is going to talk about, that Stephen Schwartz talked about in our very first episode with the guest. And if you haven't seen that episode, Mary will throw a link up to that episode because that thing is ratcheting up the views right now. Stephen Schwartz, composer, Godspell Pippin, he talked about the Dramatists Guild Foundation as well. And Andrew, who serves on the council of the Dramatists Guild, is going to talk a lot about this and how important this foundation is right now. Right now. So I think that's enough of me telling bad jokes and trying to fill some time as you guys find the live stream. That's what we do, you know. We give it a few moments because people are scattering, throwing up their laptops and opening their phones. I've given you enough time. Let's roll out the red carpet for Mr. Andrew Lippa. Welcome, Andrew.
I'm so happy to be here, wherever I am. I'm happy to be here because I'm home. Hi, Ken.
And hi, and tell everyone where you are right now.
I am at my home in Columbus, Ohio. The irony of me living in Columbus, Ohio is that I went to the University of Michigan, and I could say go blow for hours. And the Buckeyes, that whole thing. But, you know, they're wonderful people, but I'm not an Ohioan. But I love Columbus, Ohio. So there's that.
And you now are split, here you were. So this is a blog I'm writing tomorrow is talking about how the world has changed and theater will change with it right now because of this and the whole remote working. You are a very successful Broadway musical theater writer. You write for television, you write for opera, you write for all this stuff. People would think, oh, you have to be in New York the whole time. You don't, do you? You split.
Well, I was in New York. I was here for a very long time, and I'm still in New York. I'm very fortunate that I have a small place in Manhattan where I can go when I need to be in Manhattan, and I do need to be in Manhattan. During normal times, I'm in New York City once a month for about a week, and then I'm in lately I've been in Los Angeles for about as much. And so I do move around a lot, and yes, sometimes you do have to be in those places to be with colleagues or to be in situations where you're developing a show, but a lot of my time is spent alone working on writing songs, and I can do that from anywhere. So Columbus is as nice a place as any, and I'm from the Midwest originally. I grew up in Detroit. It's interesting actually about your hat, because I did notice it was a golf hat, and then you turned and showed us the Red Sox. I am from Detroit, and so I am a Tigers fan. And speaking
That's
of
all the time we have for tonight. We'll see you, everybody.
speaking of tigers, I caught that. Speaking of tigers, this may be an opportunity to mention that I've gone a bit obsessed on Twitter with Tiger King. For those of you who know of this show on Netflix, we watched it in one sitting, and which is crazy already. And there's something about that show that really got to me. And I am writing with some other people. We're writing Tiger King the musical, a parody! And I'm just letting our viewers know that you follow my Twitter account. It's at Lippa Official on Twitter. And on Friday, we're going to be dropping the first song, and that's the song I wrote for Carol Baskin. For those of you who have watched the show, I'm not going to give anything away, no spoilers, but we have an incredibly famous singing actress playing this role, and the audio will drop on Friday and the video next week. So just keep an eye on my Twitter account. That's all I'm saying about Tiger King the musical, a parody for you legal scholars.
This is amazing. We found our first exclusive. Are you, I have to ask, do you have a piano near you?
It's right here.
Can you give us just,
of course, I just played on something and it's not set to playing. So
let's give us a few something from Tiger King the parody. You don't have to reveal the whole thing, but give us a couple of lines.
You got to fill another minute because I've got to open the right file. Hold, please.
This is amazing. I will fill the minute with this.
Fill the minute. Oh, I can't play Tiger King. Oh, well, can I play?
No. Yeah, just a little something. Just give us something.
Can you hear the piano? So Carol sings a song called Little Pieces. And I'm not going to say what that's about, but she sings little pieces, little pieces. That's all I'm going to tell you. It's like rockabilly / country / Broadway. And I'm very excited about Little Pieces. But if I played you anything from the recording, you would know who the singer is, and we are keeping it under wraps. There's a whole team. There's a whole group of people.
This is amazing. This is our first exclusive. I've mentioned Tiger King like 17 times, and we've only done like 14 episodes. So it's
like Joe Exotic, I am going to be running for governor soon.
I would vote for you. Actually, I would.
You have to move
so that's obviously what you're up to. So this is a coronavirus-inspired parody. Like this is what you're doing with your time, and it's helping you get through it. Obviously,
it's helping me get through. I must be serious about it for a second. We watched the show, and I had like everybody. I think there's been a period of sadness and anxiety and adjustment and figuring out and being at home all the time, even though we can walk around the neighborhood, but you're at home, as you know. And we watched the show, and the next day I wrote on Twitter, I am writing Tiger King the musical. Do not stop me. Do not claim you have the rights. You don't. I'm doing it. And I started taking on this voice of somebody else who is not me, and started calling all the people who started following it my Tiger Cubs. And so I always address them as Tiger Cubs when I write to them. And I write to them about 20 times a day to give them fresh meat. And then I started writing a song, and I got in touch with a friend of ours, Kurt Deutsch, who actually owns Ghostlight Records and is an executive at Warner Music Group. And Kurt is a friend and collaborator of mine, and he called me and he said, "Are you seriously doing this?" And Broadway World covered my tweets one day, the next day, because I had tweeted so many silly things. And I said, "Well, no, I'm just fooling around." He's like, "Let's do this." So we reached out to about 45 songwriters in Nashville and New York, and we've got, I'd say 10 or 12 people have said yes. And people are writing songs and making videos, and we're going to start releasing them one at a time. There's no story, or nobody's writing a play, and we're not putting it on anywhere. And I'm sure at some point Netflix's lawyers will stop us. But the craziness of it has surpassed the craziness of reality. And I think it's the kind of craziness I needed. So I've just been completely, it's like a Picasso with the Velasquez La Infanta and doing the 56 paintings of the one painting. It's
exactly what I thought.
like taking me over. So I'm having a blast.
That is obviously you're having a blast. And what I love about it is that you're having a lot of fun with it. It's getting you through the time, but also what a lesson in you literally, I'm going to do this. You hadn't written anything, right? You hadn't even thought about it. You're like, I'm going to do this. You said so publicly, and then all of a sudden you're going to do it. It's going to be done. And let's face it, there will at least be a 54 Below concert fucking of this game, honoring the Dramatist Guild Foundation. I mean, there'll be a charity thing. I mean, come on.
Maybe there might be just like a song on somebody's record. I'm not sure about that. But I mean, the notion of making your own work has always been at the forefront of my career. And you mentioned John and Jen. Thanks for mentioning my first musical. We were, Tom Greenwald, who I co-wrote it with, we were young writers who had been in the BMI Musical Theater Workshop, and we were in our 20s, and nobody was going to put on our show, so we put it on ourselves, and we invited people we knew, and we were able to, because we invited people, and we had met somebody who knew somebody, and somebody happened to be Sue Frost, who later went on to produce Come From Away and many other shows. Sue Frost was then a producer at the Goodspeed, what was known as the Goodspeed Opera House in those days, and she loved it and said, we're going to put it on at the Goodspeed Opera House. And that's how I got my first show as a composer on. Was the way it was incepted was we said, let's do it. And it was a two-hander, and I was an actor, I still am, and so I was in my own show, and that's how I've always done it. So, if Tiger King the musical, a parody, ! happens, it will be because that same instinct, which is to call up your friends and say, hey, we should do this. And Kurt and I said, let's do this. And we'll write a letter to 40 people, and many of them I don't even know. And we just did. And now it may, who knows, might become a thing.
It's fantastic. Frankly, it's how I started this live stream. I was like, I'm going to do this live stream. And then I just emailed 40 people, you being one of them. And all of a sudden people go, okay, let's do this thing. And literally the next day I was like, oh, I guess I'm doing this thing.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, we'll just do it and see what happens. And this, what I love, like something amazing will come from Tiger King, the musical ! Parody.
Or I will end up the one. I may end up the one who's caged behind bars. But we'll see about that.
Tell us a little bit about anything else you're working on right now besides Tiger King. Like what was interrupted by this that you'll be picking up when it's all over?
I'm at the beginning stages of a couple musical projects, and so that are on me to write. And the truth is, I haven't been able to focus on these projects. I've been much better at. I like the opportunity to do what we're doing now. So I am a more extroverted than I am introverted, although I do value my alone time so I can work. But I like social interaction and being around people, and so this experience 3+ weeks already now of I'm here with my fiance, so that's a good thing that we're together, but there's nobody else, as you know, and so it's a little disconcerting, if that's the word. It throws me off threw him off his rhythm, and what is that from? Threw him off, I can't remember. And so I am having a lot of fun on Zoom with collaborators and doing edits and shared Google Docs and that sort of thing. So I'm working on several projects in Los Angeles. One of them is a television show for HBO Max that I am the co-executive producer and writing all the songs for. And we've been pushing that gently up the hill and getting up through the production company and the network. And so we've been working on that for a while, and that's been really fun to work on the characters and the development of the pitch document and the document that's going to lead to a first 2 scripts and me writing songs. And I've written 1 song already for that. And then I'm also working on an original movie musical. And we've done a number of pitches for production companies and studios. And we had a Zoom pitch about 10 days ago, or maybe 2 weeks ago. We did our first Zoom pitch, and we were able to musically, I pre-recorded the accompaniment, and I was able to sing along to it, and it sounded pretty good. And we were able to do the whole 40-minute pitch with the whole, what the the story and characters are and how the songs work. I've written 3 songs for a proposed probably 8 or 9 in that live action musical, and we're getting closer to making a deal and having that be a real thing. So those have been fun to work on with my colleagues. I've enjoyed the social interaction and working together.
I love this pitching via Zoom idea, which, by the way, if anyone has the opportunity to pitch via video, now is the time to do it, because actually people are so much more forgiving about the technology, and whether it's like, do it now. In like 6 months or a year, people are going to be like, that video pitch better be better than an in-person pitch. But now it's like, just have fun, just do it. People are.
That's correct. I have 2 partners on another television project, which is got a science fiction element to it, and not a musical project actually. And we are talking about filming a scene. There's a scene in the pitch that one of the creator of the show and I have do together when we pitch the story. But our other partner suggested that we actually get 2 actors and film that scene, and then we'll put that scene up as part of the pitch. And I've written the opening credit music for the minute that opens the whole show. And we decided under a normal pitch, we wouldn't play music for the opening credits of a show. That's a bit premature to do that in the life of a pitch of a show. But in this case, it's actually kind of fun, because the pitch, if you're not careful, it comes off as a newscast. It looks like if you read anything, you have to read from the computer, so it looks like you're not reading. And when we're in the room and we pitch to TV executives and people who make decisions about whether they're going to do a show or not, you can look at the paper and look at them and go back and forth, and it doesn't feel like you're reading something. And so we're learning new ways to show what we're doing. And there are a number of places that are taking pitches now that are buying and actually having conversations with artists on this technology, like this thing we're doing now.
Talk a little bit about, because you've worn many different hats in the writing world, and including doing everything yourself. Do you prefer doing just music and lyrics, all 3? And what for an extrovert, how do you write all by yourself, all 3 elements, and stay objective about your own work? Like, who do you rely on to slap you around and say, that's no good, be better?
That's really a good question, and I always long for those people. My colleague Jonathan Prince, who we're making the show for HBO Max, he's an experienced TV showrunner and creator, and Jonathan and I are also writing a musical. We're working on 2 projects, and I had mentioned to him that on another musical I'm doing, that I was presenting it to the producer, and I said something a little snotty about, oh, and I've got to listen to the notes. And he said, you know what I've learned? And I said, what? He said, it's when they don't give you notes that it's a problem. And I thought, that is a really, really great adjustment that I needed, which is the people who are making your show with you want it to be good, and they want to make it with you. And they're not trying to tell you that you stink. They're trying to tell you, like what you just asked, which is pushing you to be better and and did you really mean to make that decision? And if they're giving you notes, it means they're interested and they're engaged in the project. If they don't give you too many notes, there's the possibility that somebody's going to go, nah, I don't want to do this anymore. This isn't for me, or you're not the person who should be doing this anymore. And then, you go bye-bye. So I've really changed my perspective about that, and really enjoy when I work alone, getting the input of a director and or a producer, which on this particular, I'm doing a project where I am working alone. I'm writing the book, music and lyrics. And I think the answer to which ones I decide to do what functions on has more to do with the story and my capacity to absorb and understand it, and how to tell that story. I wrote a musical version with Brian Crawley of A Little Princess, and we've done that in lots of places together. And it's been recorded and licensed, and I conducted the Royal Philharmonic in England a couple years ago at the Royal Festival Hall for a beautiful 3,000 person one-off performance, and that was really fun. And that was a story where I didn't really connect and understand the history of it and the nature of that story in a language sense. I didn't understand how to say the words, what the way to tell that story, but I understood it musically, and so I wrote only the music for that project. And so it just all depends on what the story is. Tiger King, I wanna write the whole thing and direct it and be in it and play one of the tigers.
As you should. But listen, that is a funny comment. Although I think you should play everything. It should be a one-person show where you play all the roles, like the Alan Cumming with Beth I did.
That's very economical.
Yeah, it's very theatrical. So I do want to produce this thing, by the way. I'll like literally type up an option right now. So
let's do it. We're live, so it's committed.
It's electronic.
We got witnesses.
But what I love about you is you wear a lot of hats, not only writing, but you said at the top you're an actor, you're still an actor. And there are a lot of people I think out there that do like to wear a lot of hats and are afraid that people will be like, oh, they're doing too much, or they're doing how do you like, fuck it, I don't give a shit what anyone thinks. Is it that simple? I want to do this. I want to perform in Harvey Milk. I want to do this. How do you get that courage? Where do you get that?
Well, you know what? There was a period, and it was probably somewhere. The Wild Party was in 2000, and then I did a Little Princess a year later, and we developed it in Australia, and then we did a production in 2004 in California at TheaterWorks, Silicon Valley. And somewhere in between then and about 2012 or 13 when Big Fish opened, that 10-year period, I worked on 2 or 3 shows, and I was also trying to do things as an actor and working as a conductor, and part of it was I had to make a living, and I wasn't making a living as a writer yet full time. And I did have a group of people, my agent, my lawyer, my best friend. My best friend happens to be Jeffrey Seller, who's the producer of Hamilton and Avenue Q and Rent and a bunch of shows.
What that guy is.
So Jeffrey and I grew up together, and we've had a very long relationship, very much like family. And my agent and my lawyer and Jeffrey got together with me and said, you need to focus. And it was a really important conversation that it was hard for me because I have emotionally a hard time and historically a hard time with criticism that feels like I'm being criticized, not the thing I'm doing. And I have a hard time with that. I still have a hard time with that. And if dinner goes bad and I burn the chicken, I get very emotional, and I try to separate myself because it's incredibly silly when I say it out loud. But it's all part of my childhood and all that stuff that we don't have to go into here. But I remember that conversation, and these 3 people really cared about me and cared about my career. And they were concerned that I was extended and doing too many things, and I had lost my focus. And so there was a period where I had 3 musicals, and we were just, I got very serious about only writing those musicals and only focusing on those musicals. And those musicals were the Addams Family, Big Fish, and The Man in the Ceiling, the project that I did with Jules Pfeiffer that ultimately Jeffrey produced and directed. And those turned out great because they all happened in their way. The Man in the Ceiling is the one that didn't get to New York City yet, but they all got produced, they all got recordings, they all got licensed, they all got published, and there's shows that people do all over the place. In fact, today there was a really lovely article in the New York Times about Addams Family 10 years later and how we were panned in New York City, and then we became a hit. And that's been a wonder. I mean, it's not the story I would choose, but that was the way it happened. And the show is a beloved show around the world and the most produced musical in North America until the middle of March, when no musicals were produced. And so that really stuck with me, that idea that yes, I have these things that I like to do, these other things, but Jeffrey said it very clearly: get successful and known as this thing. Like, you write songs, go do that and focus on that. And when you really establish yourself as the guy who does that and does it the way you do it and does it well, then you can start again to do other things. And that was when I Am Harvey Milk came along, which was 2013. I Am Harvey Milk happened only a few months before Big Fish opened. And that was at a point where I was feeling confident and settled in my work. And I thought, I can also be in this and it can not split my focus. And it was a good choice because I Am Harvey Milk was in many ways the most meaningful creative experience I've ever had. All of the productions we did it in Los Angeles at Disney Hall. We did it at Lincoln Center with the Orchestra of St. Luke's, and Kristen Chenoweth and I played the leading roles. And I did it in Denver with 725 singers in a 5,000 seat hall. And it's just been a really moving and wonderful experience. So that was a great choice for me to also be in.
Awesome. Let's go to a few questions here as I scroll through one. See if you can, if you'll be able to recall "Make It Fly" and give us a few bars of that on the piano. And
Make it fly, make it so that you can touch the sky. I can't believe you remember that song. Wow, that's one of my first songs.
I know. So the story here, everybody, is that the whole story is that Jason Robert Brown was a vocal coach of mine in college. I asked him for a song. He said, "You should do one of my good friends and fellow like up and coming composer songs. And it's called Make It Fly. It's perfect for you." And okay. So question, I just went off in my own little wormhole. We just put up that New York Times article. That's great. And Angela Grau wants you to work with her. There's that. Harvey Milk fans. Oh, here's just a simple, easy one from Drew Rieger, our friend Drew in Baltimore. What advice do you have for a composer / orchestrator / dance arranger trying to break into Broadway? What's the first thing Drew should do now during this crazy time?
Hi, Drew. Hope everyone's well in your world. I think the answer is say yes to everything that you possibly can and try not to attach money to it. And I know that sounds a little kooky, but when I was getting started, I would do anything. And in fact, we do so many things now for things like the Actors Fund and the Dramas Guild Foundation and others where we do all sorts of things for free because we want to support others. When I was trying to support myself, I recognized that if somebody said, "Hey, would you do this arrangement for my club act?" and they couldn't really pay me, or they could only pay me $50, I would say yes, because it was always another opportunity to get my name and my ideas in front of God knows who. And Ken was one of those people. Ken was coming up as a producer, and I was coming up as a writer, and we've yet to do a show together, but we're more inclined to do a show together now because we know each other and we trust each other on a we've been through it together kind of process. I often say this to college students, which is really, it's about the people you went, if you went to college and or to high school. Most people finish high school, I hope, and the people you grew up with, the people you spent your formative years with, the people you got into the trenches with early on. Those are often the people that you build your career with as you move along. You don't necessarily always work with them as you go along, but they are the people who, as they succeed, you succeed. And so I would say try to just say yes as often as you can and as often as it's possible, and for every opportunity. You mentioned Stephen Schwartz earlier, Ken. I was asked to music direct for free a project that was helping young directors learn how to direct. And the project I got to do was 15 minutes of Children of Eden. This was back in 1992. And I said, will I get to meet Stephen Schwartz? And they said, yeah, he's going to be involved. And I got to meet Stephen Schwartz. And because of that, I did the work. I didn't care that I didn't get paid. I got to know Stephen, and Stephen started hiring me for things. And I ended up doing some vocal arrangements and singing on the Prince of Egypt movie. And we did a compendium show of Stephen's called Snapshots that I was the music director and arranger for. And we've become fast friends throughout all these years, and he's been a real mentor and help for my shows. So you never know how that's going to happen, and if you stay open to things, I think that is a great way to approach it.
What a fantastic answer. A few words about the Dramatist Guild Foundation and why it's such an amazing organization and why people should.
Sure, thank you for giving me time to talk about that. I serve as the president of the board of the Dramatists Guild Foundation. Our web address is dgf.org, and the Dramatists Guild Foundation's primary work is to support the work of playwrights, composers, lyricists, and librettists in the American theater. Right now, these past few weeks, our sole focus has been on emergency grants and funding every writer who meets the criteria of the Dramatists Guild Foundation's grant, emergency grant program. Go to dgf.org. If you are a writer in the theater, thank you so much for the window card there. Go to dgf.org, and on our homepage, you will see a link where it says emergency grants. Click on that. It's a very simple application. And there isn't a large criteria. You have to have been a produced playwright, a composer, a lyricist, or librettist. But that's about it. And if you need help, we are providing help. We've been very fortunate. We've raised about $250,000 in the past 3 weeks for emergency grants, and we will give every dollar of that to writers across the country who are unable to pay their bills or having incredible difficulty because of the coronavirus. So please, if you know any writers in the theater, or if you yourself are listening, dgf.org.
It's a great organization. I'm a supporter of it myself. Anything more you want to tell us about Tiger King the musical before you go?
Other than watch, Twitter, go to Twitter at Lippa Official. Friday, I'm telling you, my Tiger Cubs, there it is, at Lippa Official. Thank you, Mary. It's you come be a Tiger Cub, and we will take good care of you. The red meat is coming, I promise.
I heard that Meryl Streep is playing Joe Exotic on the recording. I'm just telling you what I read. I'm just telling you what I read on Broadway World. That's all. So you don't have to comment. No comment. Don't tell us. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Take care. We'll see you later. What a great, great guy and a great composer. Very passionate about his ideas, even Tiger King. And of course, the Dramatists Guild Foundation, which is an incredible organization. Thank you to Andrew for joining us. Thanks to all of you for joining us and all the comments you've been throwing in. Who do we got tomorrow? We got Lonnie Price, director Lonnie Price tomorrow, who I've worked with a number of times, working with again right now. Fantastic director, fantastic actor. He's another multi-hyphenate, actually. Class act. He directed and started on Broadway. Just directed Sunset Boulevard on Broadway. You may not know this about him. He was in Dirty Dancing. Go binge watch it tonight. We'll talk about it maybe tomorrow. We'll see if you find him. What else have we got to talk about? Who else is coming up? Mary, show him the card. Show him who else is coming. Look at all these incredible people. Janine Tesori was already here. You threw her in there. She was already here. Jen Colella has not been here yet. Jason Alexander, Kate Rockwell coming, Ryan Scott Oliver, a whole bunch of great people. Keep your browser pointed to my Facebook page. Don't forget to stay safe, stay healthy, and stay home, or whatever my new hashtag with the cuss was in it. And lastly, are something to make you smile. This one is a good one. It has nothing to do with the theater whatsoever. Nothing to do with Broadway whatsoever. It has to do with a kid. It's just a kid. This video kept my wife and I laughing while we were on vacation in a very fancy hotel where we should be out like at the bar, like, No, we were literally like in our room watching this video over and over and over again because it made us laugh so hard. It's about a toddler. It's about a toddler trying wasabi, which sounds like cruel and unusual punishment. Go watch this. There, we put it on the blog. It's so funny. So go to that. Throw that link up in the comments there, Mary. Throw it in there. Flatten the effing curve. I love it. Throw it in there. There it is. She's highlighting it for you all. Go watch this. I promise you will smile and you will watch it again. Speaking of watching it again, if you missed any of these, go to my Facebook page. They're all there. You all know that stuff. Watch The Wasabi Girl. We'll see you tomorrow with Lonnie Price. Stay safe, everybody. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.